Okay, let's go. Let's go back to the 40th anniversary of Roe versus Wade and how the left is celebrating. And there's a documentary out. There's only 4 doctors left that are doing partial birth abortion.
Third-term abortions. Yeah.
Yeah, 4.
There's 4 in America.
4. And they've decided to do a documentary on them. And I mean, who in their right mind would do that?
I'm surprised they're doing it, and they're doing it like we're the Fantastic Four. Like they're like profiling them like they're heroes, essentially, of course. But I'm surprised that they would want to participate in it, especially if they believed how evil and violent, the Tea Party is, and all the accusations they always make. But they are saying, that they're speaking out about what they do on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. And you would think that if you are going to do you're going to talk about that, you would talk about it in a very clinical way, and you would make sure that you're well spoken on this. Stu has some audio from NPR that shows you that it's a total disconnect from reality. Wouldn't you describe it this way?
Yeah, some of it. It's a show called Shades of Grey, where they just have people talking about different issues. This is from a few months ago, but I've been holding on to it because some of the audio is just so riveting and sometimes disturbing. I don't know what order you have them in here, Pat.
Remember, it's Shades of Grey.
Right. They're talking.
So
yeah,
we're talking about, and that's where you would if you're going to do a documentary on the guys who are doing late term abortions, you would make sure, I would think, if you were a fan of it, you'd make sure that it was a shade of gray, where you leave people going, I don't know, maybe they have a good point. That's not really what's happening.
Yeah, I don't think you'll feel that way when you hear these clips.
Yeah,
here's one of the doctors talking
from your tax dollars paying for Shades of Grey.
Of course, there is another aspect to this, and I always do kind of, in a way, have a moment's thought of thinking of the end of this fetus. Not in that I think of this as a life necessarily, but it's a loss.
Oh, not that he thinks of it as a fetus or life necessarily.
No.
But so what are you thinking of it as? Loss of tissue? Like you
I mean,
lost your
I don't
Kleenex
think
box?
there's
What?
I don't think that there's anybody who's is removing cysts that says, sometime when I'm cutting these cysts out, I think there's a loss here.
Yeah, there's cells in there.
I mean, I don't think of that as a human per se, but I think of that cyst as a lot. I can guarantee you that you could ask everybody who operates on cysts or tumors, remove brain tumors, and they don't think, oh man, I'm taking out. God created this tumor, and there's a collection of cells here that are alive. If I could just grow some tumors, so I could just take them out of the people, and then maybe just preserve them, so nobody.
And come on, how often have we talked about this? What's it going to grow into? It's not. You don't think of it as life necessarily. What is it?
What's it going to grow into?
Is that a Buick in there? Is there any chance it grows into silverware that comes out? I don't think so.
We ran out of silver in 1984.
Thank you for that.
Good point.
Okay, next guy.
Here's a nurse talking about her experience with abortion.
We have a sonogram in the room, and one person is in charge of manning the sonogram. So the transducer is on the mom's belly, so you can see calcified structures. So skull, rib cage, arms and legs, and that kind of thing.
Doctors learn to look at very gruesome things. It is the nature, particularly, of being a surgeon.
You break the bag of water, and the umbilical cord gets kinked, and the infant dies pretty quickly, so that the procedure is being done on, a dead fetus. I reached in with the forceps,
careful,
and the sonogram was on one of the limbs. I believe it was the arm, and so I pulled and put it in the dish, and he moved the sonogram over, and the heart was still beating.
She actually kind of chuckles there when she talks about the heart still beating of
so she's just
the baby.
She's just pulled an arm.
Yeah, out of the...
not just out. She pulled an arm. Imagine if I came over and I put something around you, or your child at any age, or your grandfather who has Alzheimer's and doesn't really understand, and I put a chain or a clamp around his arm, and I pull it off his body.
I pull, and I pull, and I pull.
And I pull it off his body. What do you think Grandpa, with no quality of life, doesn't really know what's going on, has Alzheimer's, do you think Grandpa feels any pain? And it doesn't seem to bother.
No, it's crazy. These are the same people who won't transport lobster because they're not sure about the lobster's comfort level in transport to the store.
Really good point.
And
how true that is.
And they don't care what the baby experiences. They don't care.
And this, the woman I think we just spoke about, the one that was just speaking, had qualms about it. I mean, she was real, like that story. You could tell at times she was really uncomfortable with it. But she, at the end, she's still doing it. She's still doing abortions after that experience.
Man, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I can't pull an arm and put a little teeny baby arm into a Petri dish. And,
I mean, it's not
even
tissue
sleep
when it
at
has
night.
an arm.
Yeah. That's a fair point.
That's not Kleenex when an arm's attached to it.
You never saw The Fly.
There's more of these. I mean, some of them are disturbing for different reasons. I don't know. What do we have next here?
7 kids.
Oh, yeah.
This one.
Where you are now, I've been. It took me years to get to where I'm at now. I've had 7 abortions. I have 3 kids. Take the time. Think about your decision. Weigh out your pros and cons. Having a child is not an easy chore.
It's not an easy chore. That's why you have 7 abortions, because babies, they're not easy chores. That's a way to look at a newborn life. It's just it's a chore, and it's not an easy one.
Keep in mind, though, 30% of her children live.
Yeah,
You know what?
that's an incredible percentage.
You know what?
30%.
And you know it's the line in, if anybody ever saw Les Miserables, the line that makes me cry every time, because it is so powerful, is Jean Valjean, who has sacrificed everything first for his sister's child, and then for an adopted child, if you will, Cosette, and he's dying at the end, and he says, my child, have I been forgiven now? And she's like, you're going to live. You're going to live. And he knows he's going to die. And he says, such a simple line. You're the best of my life. That gets me every time. Because when you stop and think of it, all of the trouble that you might be having with your kids, all the trouble that you might have had with the kids, or all the trouble that you are going to have with your kids, when you stop, you will look and say, you're the best of my life. And when somebody can look at a child and say, and not an easy chore, wow. I don't even begin to relate.